Hi, everyone. You got the sound on? So for everyone who's on the call and can see me so far, I just want to explain that I had a little surgery on my forehead here, and it's not pleasant to look at. So I've gone extreme boho today. Hope you don't mind. I also have black eyes because that's what happens. The blood runs down, and so I have a huge amount of makeup trying to cover up the black eyes. It was that or sunglasses. I thought of wearing sunglasses for a while, and then it's like, I like to see, so it's too dark for me with the sunglasses. So that's the story. I'll have to keep explaining as other people join the call. Precious time. Time is our most precious commodity. Whatever we don't use each day, we don't get it over again. So I like to honor the fact that you spend your time wanting to learn from me and from the other presenters. And I hope that we do a good job and that we honor your time appropriately. So let's see where we're at now. There's Anastasia. That's it. All right. We've got quite a few people joining. So what is the time, Neil? Do you know?
12.
It's 12. We can begin. All right. Is it okay if I begin?
Let me just check.
Check everything.
With the light.
I'm happy with the light.
Okay.
All right.
It's recording.
Okay. All good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to this went off near. Oh, no, it went back on again. All right. I just want to introduce you to Catherine and Anastasia to begin with. I'll be speaking first, and I'll be talking about the benefits of adding crystals to an energy healing practice. I'll explain a little bit about that. Then Catherine's going to present on her favorite chakra stones. Catherine, I'm going to put you up here. You don't have to unmute or anything, but I'm going to put you on the screen for a sec. This is Catherine. Say hi, Catherine. Wave. Okay. All right. And then there's Anastasia. Oh, wait, there. Wait a sec, Anastasia. Let me pin you first. There's Anastasia from New York. And Catherine's in Thunder Bay, Ontario. She's in Canada. So you've got a South African who lives, a former South African who lives in Cincinnati. We've got Catherine who lives in Canada, and Anastasia from New York. And of course, I'm in Cincinnati. I've got to unpin you, Anastasia. There it is, remove pin. Okay. All right, we're going to try and stick to time. We're going to try and stick to 25 minutes of presentation and then 5 minutes of Q&A. Last free Zoom call, some very interesting questions came up, and a sort of side conversation started happening between the presenter and one of the people attending the call, and too interesting just to stop, and then it became a little tricky. So if we cut you off and we just say, okay, we need to move on, it's because of time constraints and so on. And those interesting conversations become, there are 4 categories of benefits to adding crystals to an energy healing session. The first category is supporting the energy and flow. There's a lot more energy happening when you bring crystals in, and I will explain this. But it's the difference. There is nothing you can't do with your mind, but your mind has difficulty attending to more than one thing, with great focus and intention to attend to more than one thing at a time. So when you bring crystals in, it's like bringing extra people in. It's extra energy, it's extra hands, it's extra information, it's extra dynamics, and we're going to be going through that. So that is the very first reason for adding crystals to an energy healing session. And I can tell you that for me as a full-time practitioner, and if you're wanting to earn a living and you have children and you have to pay for children and college and all these things, then you want to be able to earn a decent living as a healer. And when you can get something that can support your energy and the energy of the session and support the flow of the session, that makes a big difference, because instead of only being able to see 3 people per day, you can maybe see 5 or even 6 people a day. And I have been known to see even 8 people per day. It's a lot of work to move energy, and if you can get help with it, then that's a good reason to add crystals. So that's one category. The next is energetic hygiene. There are certain things we shouldn't do with our hands when working with people. And the biggest one, of course, is decording. And once you add crystals in, you have tools, and you're also, it's like utensils when eating, and we'll go through that in a little bit more detail. The third category is crystals are additives. They have a chemistry that adds to what you're doing, and it's that chemistry that is important. So crystals are like vitamin supplements, spices, all those things where you start adding. This is not the meat and potatoes. It's what you add to the meat and potatoes that makes the meat and potatoes tasty and nutritious and appetizing and digestible, and all those other dynamics that have to go together with the main course, as it were. So the crystals add things that you cannot add in any other way. And then, and this one, I confess, I left it out. And the crystals slammed me, because it's the one that I've been sidetracked from and I don't talk so much about. And I will confess, the crystals have now asked me, now that I've completed the crystal surgery syllabus and completed the videos for the crystal surgery syllabus, they've asked me to go back to this one, because it is the biggest category, the most important one, and the one that you're all the most interested in, and it is the mystical dynamics of crystals. They have the most extraordinary mystical dynamics, and add the most extraordinary dimensions to your life, and they add extraordinary dimension to your energy healing sessions as well. And so those are the 4 categories, and we're going to go through them in a little bit more detail, and I hope I'm not going to go over my 25-minute limit. I think I'm doing okay so far. All right, I'm going to switch stations, and we'll go through each of those categories again with a little bit more detail and explanation. Thank you. Good. All right, so the first thing about crystals is they have electrical properties, piezo and pyroelectrical properties. And those electrical properties, one of the things that make crystals work, and it's one of the most valuable aspects of crystals. So for me, crystals are like batteries. They're like the batteries, the natural batteries of the universe. They are flooded with something called scalar energy. Scalar energy is the energy from the sun, and they store that energy and convey that energy, transmit that energy, emit that energy, and they are like electrical devices. So here we have a flashlight. It's actually for looking at fluorescent stones. So there we can see I've got a flashlight, and this flashlight, we can have everything to do with this flashlight, but if you don't have the battery, it's not going to work. Well, the battery is part of the housing, and it's part of the design. And so for me, in my healing sessions, crystals are like batteries in my healing sessions, making them work. And when I put a stone on a chakra, it's like putting a battery of energy on the chakra to energize that chakra. And so that's something. So say you're giving a massage or something, or doing some other form of energy healing, it's quite okay to put the crystals under the table. It's okay to do that, and it helps to do that, and it supports your energy, and it supports the flow of energy in the client as well. So that's a very, very, very important thing to understand, is that crystals have got electrical properties, and they can act like batteries that store energy and help energy to flow, sustain your energy. It's an analogy. It's not going to work exactly, but it is going to work if you reflect on it. The other thing about crystals, it's like if you walk, so if you're using just your own personal energy in an energy healing session, that's like walking. Using crystals in your session, that's like going on a bicycle or driving in a car or using another vehicle that powers you, and you can cover that much more terrain. So the session, in a 1-hour session, you can do so much more if you're using crystals as well than if you're just using your energy, your intention, your hands. So you can do more. Now, I'm not saying that more is better. Sometimes less is more. So this is something that you watch over. It's not automatic that pummeling your client with lots and lots of different kinds of energy is actually helpful to them. You do have to know what you're doing. You can't just add it in. You have to be systematic. You have to be intentional still. But the crystals will support you in that. They're great in that way. So that's supporting energy flow. Crystals are like batteries, and they do have specifically electrical properties. Then the energetic hygiene. Some of it is just convenience. Here's a bowl of water. Can I pick the water up with my hands? No. I need an instrument. I need an implement. So for me, crystals are that kind of implement. I can start to pick up the energy and manipulate the energy in a completely different manner. You know, for me, crystals are tools. But we'll come back to that. Now, here's the thing. It's also energetic hygiene. You can break your bread with your hands, but you're not going to get a slice like when you use a knife like this. Crystal's going to deliver an effect that your hands and your mind cannot, because it's a tool that advances what you can do. I mean, that is what makes us human. What makes us human is the capacity to use tools. It's the whole opposable thumb thing. So crystals become part of our human evolution in the same way as these tools. The opposable thumbs allow us to use these kind of tools. And then again, because we can use tools and we can learn how to use crystals as tools, it advances us. And when we talk about hygiene, you never, ever want to touch somebody's cording. You do not want to do that. Cords are sticky. And when I was taught about cording by Melody, she said, you teach people to use their own etheric hands to remove the cords. Well, that didn't always go so well. And then I learned how to use crystals to remove cording. And so they become tools that you can do something with that you should absolutely not do with your hands. So in the early days, before surgeons knew about germs and scrubbing up and wearing gloves, they would get infected by their patients. And so that's not something you want. You do not want energetic infection. And so you do not touch people's cording, for example. I don't want to touch whatever I'm extracting from somebody. So I'm going to use a tool for that rather. So all these instruments that you see here on my tray, a fork and a spoon and a long-handled spoon and my knife for cutting my tomatoes and all these specific instruments, that's what I see when I look at crystals, especially say something like this. And I'm seeing, oh, there's a sharp piece there. I can use that to work on etheric tissue. And I can use this. And when I look at a crystal, I'm seeing instruments. This is an amazing instrument to me. And of course, we know the wands have been built as instruments. So that's what I'm seeing when I look at the crystals, but I'm also seeing the equivalent of gloves protecting me from touching what I shouldn't touch in the etheric dimension with my bare hands, as it were. Okay, so then also, although it doesn't look that way, we have bowls. Crystal can be just like that, a bowl, a receptacle. And you can have different, just like we have different bowls for different purposes, you can have different bowls in your energy working. And what's usually, the bowl has water in it, what's usually in a bowl like this, it's white light. There are also helping hands inside there sometimes that come and help. So that's pretty fantastic. In the anti-inflammatory technique in crystal surgery, we use a green fluorite obelisk. That's like a jug, and you literally pour. You actually can pour from a crystal. You can pour energy like this. You can pour energy into a chakra or into an area, just like that. If you have a crystal that has something you want to pour. And what are you pouring from a green fluorite obelisk? You're pouring the green light. That's what you're doing. All right. So that's crystals as tools that allow you to practice energetic hygiene. Excellent. Third category, what crystals add to a session. So they have a chemistry. Now, there's no substitute for salt. That's actually a crystal too, isn't it? It's not a true crystal, it's an ion, but we call them crystals and we use them like crystals, and we can use salt. And we're addicted to sugar and salt. We love them. We all love them. And our food is not the same without those two substances, crystals. What can I say? So we need our salt and our pepper. So that's the seasoning, but it's also essential. It's essential to your health and well-being. The minerals in your diet are essential to your health and well-being. And we have receptors in our energy field that pick up the chemicals that in the crystals and work with those chemicals in the same way as you have receptors in your physical body for picking up your nutrients. Yeah, vitamin D3. So you have receptors in your physical body for picking up these nutrients. You have receptors in your energy field for picking up the nutrients and the chemicals and the chemistry of the crystals. And that is very, very important. And I personally wouldn't be able to manage a bunch of the healing things that I do if it weren't for the added chemistry of the crystals. I wouldn't be able to do that with just my mind. As trained as I am in focus and intention and using my mind to direct energy, I cannot substitute this. I can't substitute this. I can't the tools. I can't substitute with my mind. These additives, I can't substitute that with just intention. What I could do with intention is help the person's, perhaps their metabolic process to absorb more nutrients or whatever. But it's like that vehicle that helps you and gets and supports you by adding it in and having somewhere to add it in from. That's going to make a huge difference to the client, and it makes a huge difference to how hard you have to work when you are doing a session, as well as the range of what you can do. So there we are. To me, a crystal is like an extremely special knife. It's as if this is my chef's knife. And as I go along, it's delivering, not only is it working as the tool that I needed to work as, it's also delivering the exact additives in the exact proportion to the person's energy field as I'm working on them. It's like just a phenomenal thing. And it's the crystal knows. And that takes me to the last category. And the last category is the mystical dynamics of crystals. Of course, that's where we begin. We just have this compelling attraction to crystals. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here all together on this Zoom call. So we have this compelling attraction, and it's because they have a dynamic, a vibrational frequency that is attracting us, and we are fascinated. So crystals give us skills. What do we mean? Crystals give us skills. Well, here's channeling crystal. This crystal I keep in my room. It's actually also got a cross. It's got barnacles. It's got a whole lot of stuff. That's the channeling face there. I got this crystal in Arkansas a long time ago. It's even got a little bit of calcite on it. Look at this, so like fairy rings or something here with the calcite deposits on the quartz. This gave me the skill of channeling. I have a number of channeling crystals, but where did crystal surgery come from? I couldn't possibly have created that with my own mind. I'm not smart enough. It comes from the crystals. They help me to download the information via all the different channeling crystals that have come into my life. This one is also, there's actually more. It's a trance channeler. It's got 3 channeling faces, plus a whole lot of other action. And it's a record keeper. So there's another place that we're getting information and skills from the crystals themselves. They're actually imparting that. There's one of the amazing record keepers. You've seen these if you've seen the videos, but you know, it all bears repeating, doesn't it? And it's not like we only ever pick up our crystal once and then that's it. So one of the greatest sources for me for the mystical dynamics of crystals has been phantom crystals. This is one of my sweetest phantoms. It's an amethyst phantom, and it's a Brandberg amethyst. So it's from South Africa, like me. And phantom crystals, that's kind of where my crystal journey began, was with phantom crystals. And I just love them. And they are a direct link to spirit guides and all kinds of information. So crystals store information. For me, crystals are like brains without arms and legs. They tell me what to do in a session. They give me instructions, especially my lepidolite in mica lingam, which isn't here, but which you've heard me talk about. And it actually was extraordinary. Here's the only one story I'm going to tell today. I'm looking at this lepidolite in mica lingam, and I see a dress, an image of a dress in it. And I say to the client that I'm working on, I say, why am I seeing this dress? And I start describing the dress. And she said, actually, I was thinking about that dress. It's really special. And I stopped being able to wear it because I got a little bit too plump for it. But I've lost weight and I've been thinking I need to get it out the closet. So the dress had actually become a symbol for the healing that she'd gone through and the progress that she'd made. And the dress appeared in the lepidolite in mica lingam. The next day it was someone else and something else appeared in the lingam. So there we go. So these mystical dynamics of the crystals, I mean, it's the most fun ever. And it is where it all begins and ends, and all the rest in between is just more technical and more the science of the crystals and the mystical aspect. Well, that is really, really fun. And it's just everything that we love about crystals, isn't it? Let me just check here. So crystals are like brains without arms and legs. They tell me what to do. They give me information. They have ideas. They generate visions. They generate creativity. They inspire me. Crystals inspire me tremendously. And then they give me connection with my spirit guides. And not only that, crystals do have, they provide assistance. Some spirits work through the crystals. And then, of course, with the channeling crystals, they actually get you to be a mouthpiece for the spirit dimension and the etheric dimension. So you channel and download that information. And this crystal here said, hey, you didn't talk about me. So I'll tell you about this stone. It'll be very hard to see on the camera, but inside there is a manifestation. There's another crystal inside. And so that's one of the most mystical kinds of crystals that there are for me, the manifestation crystals, where you want to ask, how can it be that this will generate the manifestation that you want? And it's from the vibrational frequency of the crystal. The vibrational frequency of a crystal impacts us in such a profound manner because we begin to resonate with the vibrational frequency. And that's how a manifestation crystal works. It gets us vibrating with the frequency of manifestation. And when we are in the frequency of manifestation, then we can manifest what we want. But we must be careful. We must be sure it is what we want and that it is going to serve our best interests, because not every manifestation does. But we know that, don't we? Then, the biggest dynamic of all that crystals have to offer us humans is, Melody nailed it when she said, love is in the earth. And one of my favorite crystals is kunzite. And it's because of its love. It's very strong. If I throw this stone on the ground, it won't break. It will bounce, believe it or not. I'm not going to, because there's no ground accessible here. Otherwise, I would do the demo, to the shock of people when I have done the demonstration. And this is kunzite with fully rutilated. It's amazing. These two pieces were here in the room, so I picked them up because I did want to just talk about the love that is emitted from the crystals. And of course, there's lots of crystals that are specifically for the love vibration or the heart vibration, but all crystals are loving humanity and supporting humanity. It's unbelievable. And who isn't better off with more love? Who can say no to love? We cannot afford to do that. The more love that we have, the better we're going to function, the better we're going to be as human beings, and the more love we can pass on to others. So this is one of the biggest mystical dynamics of the crystals, is the love. Thank you. Are there any questions, Neil? Did anyone ask any questions in chat? If you do have questions, just put them in chat. Neil will read them to me and I'll answer. No questions. I'm so pleased I managed to stick to time. I'm feeling good. Must be the love from the crystals. And all of you. Thank you. It's a remarkable thing because I can feel you, even though I can't see you. I'm not able to see where you are in the, because I'm not sitting at the monitor so that I can't see you. But I can still feel you when I'm doing these Zoom classes, and I love the feeling. You may see more and more free Zoom classes as we go along, because I just love this time that we have together and that feeling of many of us coming from all over the world to join in and make the video, and then we post it on YouTube for others to see as well. Of course, there's lots of people who can't possibly attend. It's the middle of the night for them. Although some people get up in the middle of the night to attend these calls, which is a very big compliment to me. No questions? Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to hand over to Anastasia now, but just before we do, get up, take a little walk, get a drink of water. Don't take more than a minute. We're going to begin with Anastasia in 1 minute. Okay? Very good. Not Anastasia, I'm sorry. We're going to begin with Catherine and the chakra stones next at 12:30. Okay? Very good. Thank you.